the Lord knows everything, and He can help us. But we'll turn your Bibles to the book of Isaiah, chapter 44. And, give you a little insight of how my mind's been working today. I was getting ready to leave for church. I was walking around the house looking for my phone. And I've got this Apple Watch, so I brought it up to push it to find my phone. It was in my pocket. So sometimes we just get off a little bit. But the Lord can help us. Book of Isaiah, chapter 44. We'll start reading verse 3. He said, "For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon thy seed, and thy blessing upon thine offspring. And they shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the water courses." Thank you for standing for the reading of the word. He said, "For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon dry ground." I thought we are definitely in a time of thirst. We're in a dry time. And I'm not talking about the church. I feel like the Lord's moving for us. We may not all shout at once, but we're still shouting.
Right.
We may not all run at once, but we're still running. And I thought the world that we're living in is dry. It's a parched land. And I thought as we look around, it seems like things are only getting drier. Right. I thought this summer here around in this part of the United States, we've got quite a bit of rain. We went just maybe a week or so and we didn't get no rain, but on the most we've had rain about every week. Then you have other parts of the country, like down in Texas and different places like that, it's been in a drought and it's dry, and they're wanting rain, they're desiring rain, and I thought, but the thing about us as Christians, and when he said that he would pour out water upon him that is thirsty, we've got to desire the water. Right. We've got to desire to get out of that dry place. Yes. I've told the story numerous times of whenever we was kids and over on Regis Road down in the woods, and there was a spring coming out of that bank down on the neighbor's property, and us boys, we'd slip off, we'd go down to that spring, and it was cold water. I don't know the purity of it, Brother Jim, but it was good. We drank it, but I thought, and no matter how hot it was, and I've told the story up there at Papa's, we had sulfur water to drink. So when we got down there and we got that other water that was coming out of that mountain, and it was fresh and it was good, I thought it was refreshing to us, and I thought we needed something dry to help us in that dry time. And I thought, but the thing about being dry is if you stay dry too long, you become barren. Right. And I thought nothing will grow on dry ground. No. You take seed, you put it out, it'll lay there, but until it gets moisture, it doesn't grow. And I thought, so in order for us to plant, in order for us to see growth, I thought we've got to have water. Yes. We've got to have those spiritual rains, and like Brother Sparks related to several times, the old song that Brother Step used to sing about the rain. And I thought, repetition, but we needed the rain. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but I thought, send down the rain, Lord. Send down that latter rain. And I thought we're needing the rain in our souls today. I thought we can't go long without rain. And I thought whenever we go without a lot of rain, then we begin to lack the spiritual blessings. I thought Sister Sparks gave the testimony just a moment ago, how that the Lord moved for her last weekend. Sister Peggy gave the testimony tonight of how she felt the Lord moving. No, she didn't say she was healed. I feel like the Lord can heal her. But she said she felt the Lord move on her. And I thought Brother Sparks told the testimony this morning of how he moved some 25, 30 years ago for him. And probably 35 years ago now. But God moved then, He's still moving now. And I thought in order for us to have that blessing, we've got to have rain. We've got to have spiritual rain. John 15 and 16 says, "Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you, that ye should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whosoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, He may give it to you." Galatians 5 and 22 says, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law." And I read those because the fruit is, if in order to have the fruit, in order to have the spiritual blessings of God, we've got to have that rain. We've got to have the blessings of God in our life. And I want the blessings of God. I desire more and more of the blessings of God. And I thought you look around and it seems like people are losing an interest in God. Several years ago, we had church more than we do now. We had a Saturday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, and several years ago we decided we quit having it on Saturday night, and then we have Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night. But I thought you could see how people's desire slowly dwindles down. Right. And that a lot of people Sunday morning is good enough. Yep. And it ain't just this church, it's anywhere you go. Right. You drive by on Sunday morning and the parking lot will be full. Yep. You drive by on Sunday night and Wednesday night, there's not hardly nobody at all there. And I thought, why? Because people have become barren. I thought they're not producing nothing within themselves. And I thought in order to produce, then we've got to have the spiritual blessings of God. We've got to have that spiritual rain within us. I thought, and if we go a long time without the spiritual rain, and we become barren, and if we're not careful, we become hard. Yep. Have you ever tried to dig in hard ground? I thought, Brother Bill, several years ago, when he put his new double wide in, I agreed to help him move his fence. And I had an 080 Ford tractor, and I had a post hole digger on it, and I loaded it on the truck and trailer, and I took it down there, and I was able to help him dig those post holes. And I got the tractor off the truck, and I went to start digging, and my lift quit. And I went to the tractor's place, and I bought some hydraulic oil, and I poured in it, and it was full of oil. Just something inside of it quit working. I had promised Brother Bill I'd help him put in that fence. So what we do, Brother David? We got us some post hole diggers, and we started digging. I thought that ground got hard. It was in the middle of summer. And Brother Bill didn't want to dig it that way, and I sure didn't want to dig it that way, but I done committed to help him. And I thought for 2 or 3 nights, I went down there after I got off work, and we got that fence moved, but I thought that ground was hard. And there was a time or two we went and got us some water, and we poured on that ground, and we softened it up a little bit. So we could get that ditch dug, those holes dug, in order to set those fence posts. And I thought that's what happens when we become dry. We become hard. You take a dry ground, and whenever the rain does come, I thought unless it's a soaking rain, I thought the ground is so hard that the rain even runs off. It won't penetrate. It won't soak in. And I thought if we're not careful, we become hard. We hear the Word of God. We hear the preacher preaching. I thought, but it doesn't penetrate. It doesn't break into the soul like we need it to. I thought a Christian can get into this condition. We can get into that place where we become hard. How do we know we become uncaring? I thought, it's one thing to look at someone and that is trying, and you look at them and you say, well, they can do better. And I thought, I was driving through town the other day, and I thought, it's everywhere, but I thought the homeless population in Richmond has become tremendous. And I realize there's a lot of them that have chosen that lifestyle. But I'm sure most of them have because of the drugs and different things. But I began to think about it, and I thought, but I do know certain circumstances where people have just become in a bad situation, and I've heard the stories of how they got there and they desired to get out, they just couldn't. And I began to look at that, and I began to think, and I thought it's so easy to become hard against that.
That's right.
And just say, look and say, well, they can do better. And I'm sure some can, but I thought, see, that's a soul. That is a human soul that's there, Sister Minnie. And somebody that's dealing with addiction, or somebody that's, we don't know what they're dealing with. And it's easy to drive by and look and become hard to that. Yep. But I thought what we need is a spirit of God, that spiritual rain coming inside of us to soften our hearts, to look at that individual, and even though we don't even know who they are, we can be the one, Brother Yule, that's praying for that soul, trying to break up and just ask the Lord to help the enemy break his clutches off that soul.
That's right.
The soul we don't even know. But I only care. Instead, we become, if we're not careful, we become hard. We become indifferent or even unconcerned about things. I thought, Sister Kathy's youngest sister, I don't know, maybe Thursday, I believe it was, we was driving toward Berea, and her mom called, and little Jerry and them had passed an ambulance headed out 52. The thing is, once you get past Bobby, there's not a whole lot of houses down 52. And, we got, her mom and dad lives there, so she became concerned, but it came out our road, and there's a trailer right there, and it seems unoccupied, but obviously there's people living in it. And when she came back by, that trailer was backed into that double wide. It seemed, like I said, seemed unoccupied, but somebody was there, and no doubt maybe they'd overdosed on drugs. So I don't know what all exactly did happen. But I thought it's so easy to drive by there because it's an eyesore in the community, and all the situations surrounding it. And just wish something would happen, But then you drive by and you realize there's a soul. There's a soul. And I thought we need to, instead of becoming hard, we need to have our hearts softened, that we can desire to help those souls. I thought I want to be willing to do what God would have me to do. And I thought when it becomes hard, when that ground becomes barren and it becomes hard, then it becomes unworkable.
Right.
And I thought Jeremiah 18:6 says, behold, as the clay is in the potter's hand, so are ye in my hands. Right. I thought in order to be workable, then you got to be pliable.
That's true.
You got to be movable. And I thought if you never watched the potter work, it's amazing to watch him as he begins to spin that clay. And he begins to work it, he begins to mold it, and begins to form it and make something out of it. And I thought, and then to watch that potter take that clay, and especially if you take when I went, I heard Bobby went as a school group, so he's got all those young people there, and we're watching him as he forms that piece of vessel, and he gets it up, and we think, oh, that's so pretty. And then what does he do? He crushes it. And then he works it again. And he makes something different out of it. And he done that to illustrate to us the skill of that potter. And I thought he didn't get biblical with it, but I went as a Christian school, so he very well could have. And after we got away from there, Mr. Davis did, and he began to tell us how that potter crushed at it, and how that the Lord desires to take us and mold us and make something out of us, and use that illustration, because we've got to be workable in order for God to use us. And I thought in order to be workable, we've got to be wet. And I thought we got to be drenched. And I thought you can't take clay that's dry and hard because it's not workable. But I thought when you get it good and moist, and He continued to add water to it to keep it pliable. And I said, Lord, keep raining on me. Lord, keep pouring that water on me. Lord, to make me usable. I don't want to be dry. I don't want to be barren. I don't want to become hard and unworkable. But Lord, I want to be used for you. And I thought after a piece of ground becomes all of that, then it becomes unprofitable. And I thought ground that's unprofitable, that's barren and dry, I thought there's not much you can do with it. I thought I've never been on the desert. I've been in a lot of sandy area, and I thought there's not a lot that'll grow in sand, especially when it's parched and it's hot and it's dry. And I thought, so therefore it's pretty unprofitable. But I thought if we can allow the Lord to pour His blessings upon us and openly and readily receive them, I thought we can't be hard. I thought, well, we've got to allow those blessings to penetrate into our souls. I thought, as they come against the song, I know it's not been up very long, but I thought, I want to be useful for God. Psalm 63:1 says, O God, Thou art my God. Early will I seek Thee. My soul thirsteth for Thee, and my flesh longeth for Thee in a dry and thirsty land where no water is. I thought as we look around, as I said, we're in a dry and thirsty land. But I thought if our soul is longing for the water, then the Lord's going to come by and He's going to give us that water. I thought we can be that refreshing well that this world's needing. I thought it's God's desire that we be that refreshing well. I hope I've helped you tonight. But I thought, are we dry or are we workable for the will of God? I thought, I don't want to become hard and harsh. And I thought, it's easy to look, and even in our families. Sometimes we look and we see circumstances and we say, but they know better. And we can become hard to that. And we can say, I'm just going to write them off. I'm just going to forget about it. But I thought that's not God's will. I thought, but what we've got to do is we've got to be soft and we've got to be tender and we've got to be pliable that God can use us so that when we are with them, that we can be that light and we can be that refreshing that soul's needing. Yeah. As they give us a song tonight, I don't know, maybe somebody else has got some, Brother Sparks or somebody. But I thought, I want to be willing to let the Lord use me. And I thought in order to do that, then I've got to stay under the fountain. Yes. I've got to stay refreshed in the Lord. Like I said, sometimes we feel better than we do at others. But I thought the main thing is know that we know that we're in the will of God and that we're doing what God wants in our lives. As they give us a song tonight, let's pray.